It's, really great that we've got Maka Pailate here, who's the CEO of Akiheuho, the Aotearoa Tonga Health Workers Association. I believe Sione Vaka's here as well, who's the clinical lead for their project. So really excited to introduce Maka. Maka is one of the successful proposals that got accepted by Te Whatuora. And what he's going to talk about today is just the project proposal that they put in and how they want to go about, addressing that dementia journey and addressing the inequities at every step of the way.
Kia ora. Malo lele everyone. Kore pe ke hu whanga henga whatapu ko tōpe. Ka tā mo au ke whakakoata programa ko ini. Mo konga ngā oe. Associate Professor toke tā Sione Vaka. Greetings everyone. My name is Maka Pailate, as introduced by Dr. Ma'o. I am actually the CE for the Aotearoa Tongan Health Workers Association. We trade under the name Akiheuho. Akiheuho is actually a name of one of the navigating Apahau canoe by the old Imperial Tonga way back in the centuries. We use that to call our services as our workers are navigators, by the way. So it's my privilege to introduce to you Dr. and Associate Professor Dr. Sione Vaka to start our slide from the cultural aspects and how did we come up with the model, the Aotearoa model. And then I will have one slide after just to tell you the services that we are going to deliver. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Sione Vaka.
Very excited to be here and to talk about the project that we're about to embark. I think one of the things in terms of the journey in the in health is always trying to measure, to define specific health issues with non-specific tool, and it does really have a good definition. And not only that, but we try to fix specific health issue with non-specific tools. So what I'm going to talk about is quickly speak about the background of the model that we propose to work with, which is Uloa model. This started off with a work that I've done a few years ago in looking at the constructions of mental distress amongst Tongan populations. So what we found is Tongan people define mental distress in three different ways. There's Tongan constructions, which associates with possessed by the spirits, breaking cultural norms and values, disrupting those social and spiritual relationships. So the Tongan construction is there, and the other constructions about biopsychosocial constructions, much more aligned with the medical way of looking at things around chemical imbalances, stress and stuff as well. And also the other one is the intersection between the two constructions. So, and this was largely influenced by migration from people from Tonga to New Zealand, outcome of services, and also how the services were providing. And in terms of that, people tend to change their constructions of mental distress. And from the diagram below, it identifies a Tongan house, which the Tongan construction, and a bit of another house, the biopsychosocial construction. And our youth align much more with the biopsychosocial. Our men and community leaders align more with the Tongan construction. Our women and our families were in the middle, in the intersection. So after this study, it sat there, and our people were saying, so what are you going to do about it? So if you go to the next slide, Maka. So I took this finding back to our Tongan community and said, in terms of how we look at mental distress is quite, it's diverse. Our young people define mental distress differently from our community leaders, our Tongan and our women and stuff. So our Tongan community proposed Uloa, which is a communal way of fishing that we do in Tonga, where everybody in the village is part of the fishing. So particular community, men, women, young people, senior, bit different kind of people. They have a role, and the idea of this kind of fishing is on the day of the fishing, everybody goes down to the water with their coconut leaves, and they all hold hands together and they move alongside in terms of this movement towards a collection basket where they collect all the fish there at the end of the day. And the way they move, they need to communicate again with each other to know how they move. They need to move in a symmetrical manner to move to this collection basket at the end around there. And with that, the other side will have to consider if there's weakness on the other one, put more resources there. And also the idea about connection to make sure that their coconut leaves connect quite together. So there's a lot of communication in terms of this movement to make sure that they come together symmetrical. If it's not, then it may not be a successful way of fishing. And the thing with this one, it captures some of our Tongan ways of thinking, worldviews, and practices as well. So this is just an example, just to tell that sometimes the differences in terms of how Pacific look at things are different to non-Pacific. I've only to pick two stuff to demonstrate that: the linear versus secular and the individual versus collective. Our Pacific people tend to be aligned more with secular and collective, and linear individual is not very Pacific, but that's how our health system are structured in most ways. So if you look at the diagram that you see, just focus on point A to point B. Sometimes the individual journey is in linear, is very straight. Like an example that I usually say, if you talk to at the hospital, you go, introduce yourself. My name is Sione. I'm here to look after you. Take your blood pressure. Very linear, very individual. For a Pacific person, it doesn't work like that. It goes around from point A to point B. When you say, I'm Sione, I'm here to take your injection, they said, well, are you Tongan or Samoan? What's your last name? Vaka. Which Vaka are you from? Are you from the east or west? So the journey goes in that stuff there, and that it reflects the relationships and those stuff around there. So Uloa capture some of these worldviews of how Pacific people talk, how relationship is quite important. If you see point P, sometimes in a Pacific worldview, destination is important, but relationship is far more important. If you get to your destination and you lose your relationships around there, then sometimes it's not really a good journey in terms of that one. Anyway, that's just a quick stuff on how the worldviews are captured in Uloa. So in terms of the research in Uloa, we look at in Auckland at the moment. I'm looking at it in Fiji, Niue, and Tonga as well. But it involves a whole lot of rich Pacific concepts. Uloa, that's not only in Fiji, they call it Yavirau. Hawaii, they call it Hukilau. Samoa, they call it Lauloa. So it's a pretty Pacific way of fishing. But these are some of the concepts. Na panga marie e ngawe whakataha, it means like working together in this fishing. And when the panga malia is like when the two end of the coconut leaves come together at the end of the day, it's a very successful way of fishing. So the other people that are quite important here is the tautai, who's the main fisherman or the fisher for the day, who calls out, make the decisions and all those stuff as well. So it found the Uloa has been pretty have good outcomes in terms of working with Pacific people with mental illness. And then the next one, Maka, please. So we bring Uloa to our dementia project, since it's provided that it's good working with our people. And with dementia, it's one that we have been struggling with finding the right Tongan term to define dementia. Acknowledge our renowned doctor in Tonga, Dr. Mapapuloka, have all come up with terms like hoholo kovi, hoholo tamaki. It has all these different terms that we've sort of tried to explain dementia. But we at Akiheuho after discussing with our community and also some of our academic people, anthropologists as well, Professor Devita Akaili from Hawaii, we have come to pick ngalo, to have a go with ngalo. Ngalo is about something which is about almost to disappear. It's like a boat sort of sailing in the distance and going to disappear away. So nearly out of sight, out of memory. So in this project, we want to bring ngalo and explore that as dementia in our project, and also using the concepts of Uloa working together around working with our people as well. The next one, please, Maka. And this is how we sort of wanting to lay it out around here. If you see the red arrow, that's pointing to the collection basket of where the tuki, when we go out fishing, and the two green arrow on the side reflect the two sides of the coconut leaves in terms of how the uloa pulled together there. So we're planning to have community campaigns and workshop, and then we check on the other side that will improve awareness and health literacy. I think one of the things as well is we want to incorporate as much as we can those specific concepts and values, because our people, when they see these concepts and values, they align much more with the service there. We have resource guide to make sure they access assessment, support them through the diagnosis, as Dr. Ma'u has spoke to, so that we could get them diagnosed. And with that, we make sure that everybody come towards the end where we all meet at the collection basket, and ensuring that the two arms come together around there. I think, yeah, I might stop there before I confuse everyone here, but give it to Maka to finish it off. Malobit.
Malabito, Sione, just to continue on, just in a nutshell, what are we, as you've heard from Julie earlier on, we are one of the contract awardees for this, and what's in our contract, basically this whole 5 things here. We are supposed to deliver all these 5 services, post-diagnostic supports. We will have a navigator service, which we will call it ngalo, as you've heard the definition of ngalo. We will run workshops and activities. We have 11 already sorted out, but depending on how we go, we might run more workshops than the 11, but we already have the 11th sorted out. The awareness program, actually before the RFP came out, we started the awareness program at the beginning of the year with our community via the Radio Pacific Media Network. Once a week, we call in all the experts, including Dr. Vaka, some of the Tongan doctors in the mental health. Dr. Tony Kautoke is also a psychiatrist, to speak on the radio where people can ring up and ask questions. So that awareness program will continue right through this journey. And in the number 5, we will begin with the funding. We should be able to start training the family carers and the caregivers in their home. And last but not least, we do want to take this opportunity to thank Te Whatuora and everybody that is involved for giving us this opportunity to roll out this pilot project within the Tongan community, to make sure the concept works, and then from there we'll roll it out to the rest of the Pacific community. Malo apito, that's it from us today.
Thank you, Maka and Sione, for your presentation, and congratulations on a successful bid.